we actually live this time.
Mm-hmm.
We sure the sound works?
Mm-hmm.
Positive?
Mm-hmm.
No. Etsy's working. Yes, there's audio.
Yay.
Hi, Charlene. Hello.
Hi, Sequoia.
She said we were live before too.
Yes.
Yeah, but it kicked us off. It was saying for whatever reason that it wasn't going through on my end, so I wanted to make sure we were good. Hi, Christy. Says, hi there, beautiful.
Hi. Which Christy?
Look back there.
Mine? Christy? I thought she was just live.
I thought so too, but I've been wrong before.
Okay, so everyone asked
Hi, Ryan.
that we do water slides.
Hey, you guys.
Will you hand me one of those ones from up there on top of that laser printer? So, we're doing some full water slide wraps. And I'm going to show you guys the difference between using a clear water slide as a full wrap as opposed to a white water slide.
Hi, Regina.
So,
She says only live for a minute to show the pups.
oh.
I do know you, Herman.
Alright, so I'm using water. Let's see. These are my clears. So I have a ton of these cups to do. I have precisely 15 more to do after I delivered 15 behind me. So I figured we would do some of those as full cup wraps. So I'm going to do this one on a white cup because I wanted to show you guys the difference between a clear water slide full wrap and a white water slide full wrap. So I've tried explaining it before that the clear water slides, if you get a bubble under the water slide in between your white cup and the water slide, it actually shows a different color. You can see all the bubbles that are under it. And the white water slides don't do that. So I wanted to show what I was talking about. So I accidentally printed all of these wraps on clear water slide. They are sealed. I do plasti dip with my full water slide wraps. And they work out great for me. I also do all my full water slide wraps that I sell on my Etsy store. I do those. I completely seal them with the plasti dip as well. I know a lot of people have reached out to me about the classes that I'm starting to do. I'm going to start doing personal classes with people to try and get them, try and help them with, yeah, one-on-one time, help them with some of the things that they're struggling with. And one of the big topics is full water slide wraps. So this is the clear water slide. You can clearly see it. You can see through it. It's transparent. Clear water slides are to be on a white or a light colored cup. They should not go on a dark cup or a you really want it to be on a light cup. Now this cup has a taper to it, so you'll see why tapers are so hard to get full water slide wraps on. They start pulling up towards the top. Now this is just for demonstration purposes. Of course, this isn't going to stay on my cup. But I wanted to get a couple air bubbles in here so that you guys could see what I was talking about in regards to the discoloration. And of course it probably won't do it for me because everyone's watching. but I figured I'd give it a shot anyways. Alright, so we're going to leave this on here. And we're going to push it off to the side, and we'll come back to it. Alright, so that's the clear water slide. So clear water slide, a light base or a white base. It is completely transparent. You don't have to cut out the outer edges like I will on this one. So this is a white water slide, which means it has a white backing. Regular printers can't print white, so if you have a design that has white in it and you plan to put it on a clear water slide and put on like a pink cup, it's not going to show through as white because printers can't print white. So you do have to cut this one out, cut off all the white. I do all of my full water slide wraps in a cookie sheet that you see here. This is my designated crafting cookie sheet.
Handy dandy cookie sheet.
Yes. And it makes full wraps a ton easier. You guys are going to see me do 5 of these. And you'll see that I blow through them pretty fast. So, these are Miss Lou's 20-ounce non-taper tumblers. The importance of the non-taper is a generic skinny is going to be smaller at the bottom than it is at the top, or vice versa. So that means that your design is going to go up at an angle because the bottom, I believe, is 8 1/4 inches and the top is 9 inches or 8 1/2 inches or something like that. I think it's a 1/2 inch off in size, but that's going to make a huge difference. It's kind of like this one where it goes up at an angle. This one has a lot more of a taper than one of the regular ones, than a skinny, but it's about the same thing.
I don't see any drinks. What's up?
No drinks. Okay, so I'm really gonna leave it alone this time. It's all crooked and all that stuff, but you can tell that I'm like putting a lot of pressure on it. I'm pressing it down. I can do all of this with my hand or paper towel or whatever I have at arm's length to get out all the bubbles, and it doesn't crack, it doesn't rip, it doesn't, and the plasti dip actually makes it where it's somewhat stretchy. So if my seams don't match up completely and maybe I cut it like a centimeter or a millimeter off, then I just stretch it a little bit and I'm able to make it work. Alright, so I got my white water slide in the pan. This is my 20-ounce non-taper tumbler. You'll notice that it's not spray painted, it's not sanded, it's not anything. It is just a regular stainless steel cup, and this cup is actually going to turn into one of these. This is what it looks like after it's completely epoxied. I did 3 or 4 layers of epoxy on these tumblers. You'll notice at the top rim that there is a space there, and that's so I didn't have to worry about breaking the seal on these. And then I have my handy dandy foil sheet for the bottom that has my business logo on it and my business name, as well as tumbler care instructions. It tells you not to stick it in the microwave, don't stick it in the dishwasher, don't soak it in hot water, don't leave it in a hot car, all that good jazz. It's purple paint on my Waterslide. Got it. Okay, so this is a white water slide. It is not transparent. It has a white backing on it. It is still somewhat see-through. It's not completely see-through, but it is somewhat see-through. Alright, so the key to doing a full wrap is getting a straight line. That is over on this way. I do want to leave a little gap towards the top to show some of the stainless steel through. And you don't need very much, you just need enough to where the epoxy can form a grip onto your stainless steel tumbler. And if you make it a tidbit long, that's fine. I actually go back and trim that up at the end. Once they dry, I trim that up. And since there's so much water on the tumbler, you can actually push and pull it to line it up at the top as well as the bottom. Now I do want my design for the company logo to go on top. So I am going to flip that around and make it to where the company logo is on top. And this side of the image is on the bottom. So remember, your straight lines are key. When you lay down the first part of your water slide, you want to make sure that your line here is straight. And the reason for that is because that's how it's going to wrap around the rest of the way of the cup, is if it is straight where you first lay it down at. Alright, so you can see all my bubbles and my bumps and bruises and all that good stuff that's on it. There's Cameron over there with his handy dandy camera. So I'm going to, so this water slide is going to move around quite a bit when I start trying to wipe the bubbles out of it.
Hey Judy.
And wipe the water out of it. So I'm going to hold my finger right here to keep both water slides, both sides of the water slide from moving. And then I'm going to go from top to bottom, get all of the water and bubbles out. Once you get all the water out, your water slide will not move anymore. The water that's under it is what's making it so easy to move around your tumbler.
Hey Judy. April says she's been trying to find the laser printer you suggested, but everybody's sold out.
Yeah, I think once COVID hit, they have been really hard to find. I guess they're made in China or something. I'm not really sure. But I know since COVID, they have been super hard to get a hold of or to get your hands on. I have two because Cameron spilled water into the back of my first one. And then he bought me another one because I was having so many issues with that one. And then we realized that it was the setting that it was on and that it wasn't really broken. So now I have two. I have two laser printers. Alright, so you can see I've got all the bubbles out and I just keep going over it to make sure that they are all really out. Going over my seam.
Hey Amanda. Madison says she loves the black and pink tumbler behind you that when you do the HTV.
Oh yeah, I actually used HTV for this tumbler. I used the tack it method on it. And this hot pink right here is actually HTV because I couldn't find a hot pink 651 vinyl. So I just cut it out and put it on with my heat gun. Yeah. It worked very well actually. So if you ever have vinyl or HTV that you can't find in vinyl, feel free to use it on your cup with a heat gun. Okie dokie. So let's move on to the next one. Oh, he's already got them out. So we're going to cut this one out. I know everybody's gonna be like, oh my god, we get to watch it again. And this is primarily because I do it so fast that everybody that's hopping on and off can see it from start to finish.
Yeah, Ryan didn't know you could do HTV on cups of heat gun.
Yes, you can.
And Herman, the reason that people are doing the laser printers is because you don't have to seal them for doing cups. The laser jet is great for doing orders and stuff because it saves you on toner, but the lasers...
You said the laser jet.
Switch to laser jet, you won't regret it, Lisa.
It's the inkjet.
Yeah,
So one thing that a lot of people don't know about inkjet printers is that you can seal the crap out of your water slide and you can epoxy over it and it look absolutely fabulous, and then it will bleed under your epoxy.
Judy said your hair is getting long and looks really healthy.
Thank you. Yes, my hair is getting super long. I've got a couple more inches before I chop it off. Not really, I'm not going to chop it off. Alright, so one thing that some people don't know is that with the 30-ounce tumblers, so if you do sublimation and you've gotten any of the sublimation tumblers and you have a standard printer, like some of the ones that people are using, like the Eco Tank, and putting the sublimation ink in it, it only prints by 8.5 by 11. 8.5 by 11 is the biggest sheet that it prints. So you would need a printer that prints a larger sheet for you to be able to do a full wrap as a sublimation. Same thing goes for a water slide. So for my water slides that I do on 30-ounce tumblers, I do have to piece them together. So I actually cut off 2 inches and then I print that on a separate sheet and then piece the two together, which is how I did this tumbler. This is a piece together tumbler with the water slide on it. Because you physically, unless you have a printer that prints bigger than an 8.5 by 11, you can't fully wrap a 30-ounce. And my laser only prints 8.5 by 11. So now my sublimation tumbler printer prints 11 by 17. That corner was dry. Have a dry corner. So I had someone send a message to our Etsy store today, and they were asking what the water slides were, if they were paper or if they were plastic. And I'm not really sure how to answer that question. I would think it would be plastic, but it's like transparent. I don't know. I didn't know how to answer that question, so I just left it alone. Okay. So the straight line. That's not straight. That's straighter.
Which sublimation printer do you use?
I have an inkjet printer that was converted to a sublimation printer. So mine is a WF7620, I believe. So Cameron actually converted that from a regular inkjet printer into a sublimation printer. And I get a lot of questions about it as to how do you know if you have a printer that can be converted. The biggest thing is if you can find a conversion kit for it. So if you can go to eBay and type in your model number printer and type in sublimation conversion kit or an Eco Tank something continuous ink system, whatever, then it can be converted. If you can't find one for it, it cannot be converted.
I'm Amanda said it's like a window cling. That's probably the best way to explain it.
Yes, that is true. I didn't think of that.
Transparent film that slides off the paper backing when introduced to water.
Yes, that is the definition that I found when I Googled it.
And Herman said Christy's phone just died. It's fun watching her scramble to plug into the truck.
That's mean. So, a lot of people asked about virtual classes.
What's the best water slide? And is that clear or a white one?
This is a white water slide. I use white water slides for all of my full wraps, and that is because I discovered that when I did clear water slides, it actually, you could see pockets of air in between the water slide and the white backing. Since the white backing is directly behind the image on this, I don't have to worry about any space that is going to cause a discoloration on it. I actually wrapped a clear one on a tumbler when we first started just to see if I can replicate what I'm talking about, because it doesn't really make sense when I explain it.
And what is the best water slide?
Sunny Scopa. Miss Lou actually sells them. And that is where I get my water slide paper from, is Miss Lou. And I really like it. I will say that the white water slide is slightly thinner than the clear water slide. So it's a little thinner. I definitely have to seal it with Plasti Dip before I do full wraps with my white water slide. And of course they're inkjet printed, so you don't have to seal them. However, I do it for ease of application.
Can you see the glitter shimmer through a white water slide?
No. Mm-mm.
The white water slides are more opaque.
Yeah, so it has a physical white backing on it. You can still somewhat see through it, but you can't see the glitter through it. Now, the way that I get away with that, if I am doing one, and I want it to have a glitter, is I take an ultra fine glitter, like fairy dust from Miss Lou, and I mix a little bit in with your epoxy, not too much, because it will get too sparkly and take away from your image. And I put it on the tumbler, and it actually makes the whole image look like it's glittered, instead of it actually being on glitter.
Christy said thanks for defending me. These men, you can't live with them, can't live without them.
I know. Tell me about it. Damn hooligans. Alright. So I'm just making sure all the bubbles are out. You're just mainly trying to get all the water out. But like I was saying, everybody's been asking me about the virtual classes.
Stephanie, as you make orders moving forward, you can use code custom creation and you
get 10% off.
So this is what the name of the discount code is going to be.
So a lot of people have been talking about the virtual, and I wanted to touch base on this to see what you guys thought about it. So I was thinking that we could do the virtual classes, and a lot of people want to learn the water slides. So I was thinking that I could print the water slides and then mail them to everybody that signed up for the virtual class, so that you had one that was sealed the way it was supposed to, because I think a big problem is some people are over sealing them and some people are under sealing them. So I think it would work so much better for people if they actually got their hands on a water slide that was sealed correctly with, and I also don't use gloss clear. I use matte clear, and that's because the gloss leaves too slick of a finish on the water slides, so it slips around too much and it's hard to get the water out, and it's just really a pain in the ass. So I use the matte clear on it too. I'm going to cut out another one.
Hey, Tori.
But I know that water slides is something that a ton of people struggle with.
What does plastic dip look like? Please show the can, Vanna.
I think it's. Is there one up there?
You know who Vanna is?
Mm-mm.
Vanna White. You ever heard her name?
Mm-mm.
She's the lady that used to do she used to press the letters on the Wheel of Fortune.
Oh. I think there's. Look behind that white can right there. Okay, you're gonna have to grab it outside. I think it's like. It's completely spray painted. So.
Probably. Hi, Zen. There's actually 2 different kinds of plastic dip, too. 3, actually. This is how it looks.
So it
If it
comes.
doesn't look like this, it's not being used.
So it comes with a clear lid. You want to make sure that you get the plastic dip that has the clear lid. Don't get the one that has a black lid because that's black, and don't get the one that has a white lid because that's white. Don't do those ones. You have to get the one with the clear lid. I order mine off Amazon, which I know is going to be the next question. You can also get it at Walmart, Home Depot, and Lowe's, and it's going to be in the spray paint section. Okay. So I do, for my laser printed water slides, I do a layer of plasti dip, and then I do another layer of plasti dip after that dries, and then I do a layer of matte clear just to go over it. Plasti dip you don't want to use as your top layer because it does repel epoxy. You'll have fish eyes for days.
Madison likes this.
Really? She likes the cow.
Hi, Tivoli.
Hi, Tivoli.
And Tori asked if you were going to be on for a while because she's going to be up late doing tumblers.
Possibly about 10 or 15 minutes. I've got 2 more to wrap, 3 more to wrap, and then I'll be done.
She's just filling orders at this point.
Yeah, I'm just filling orders at this point. And I know water slides is something that a lot of people have questions about. But I do seal even my regular non-full wrap water slide sheets that I sell on my Etsy store. I still sell like the 3.5 inch water slides. I seal those too. But I just do a layer of a matte clear on it. I don't do the plasti dip.
Yep, and Victor's pen holders back here too.
Yes. Yes. His pen holder
Victor's like,
is.
it does look good back there. Sequoia's was showing hers off today.
I saw. Hers is pink. It's like a pinky purple, actually.
Did you see it matches her color?
Yes. So I'm just getting this line up at the top where I want it. It's all about playing with it and getting it how you want it. If it's not cooperating or whatever, just throw it back in your pan of water and then put your tumbler back down and try again.
Cookie sheet seems to be key.
Yeah, the cookie sheet is definitely helpful.
It's kind of changed your whole perspective on wraps.
Yeah, I don't do full wraps unless I have a cookie sheet. So
Makes it a whole lot less intimidating because you can spend your time and get it laid right, and your water's right there.
yeah. You want to make sure that you have a little bit of an exposed rim.
The official color is silky violet for Sequoia.
Ooh.
Also have a shiny gold color now, but in limited quantities.
Yes. Those are from my shotgun shell bottoms. I can't wait for those. I think those are going to take off. Those are going to be a hot commodity. I'm convinced of it.
What's he gonna have been fitting? A skinny?
He's got a 20 and a 30 ounce non-taper.
Nice. Hi,
That I
Kylie.
sent him.
She says, hello, Heather and Cameron. How are you both tonight?
We are good.
We're good.
It's a typical Friday night in the Myers household. Working on full Waterslide wraps. So I did 10 of these. And I sat on the couch and watched a movie while my son was sleeping. And just had my cookie sheet and my water slides and my cups next to me. And I did them on the couch in the living room watching Aquaman.
Laura says you can use a T-square to strike a line perfect straight down the side before you start your water slide for those that are having trouble getting it lined up.
Ooh, that's a nifty tip.
Herman, I was looking the other day. We have over 500 glitters.
Holy crap.
The arms are amazing. This was the voice on the pin holder.
Yeah. Okie dokie. There's another one. You see it's all smooth and bubble free. Now let's see, and I turn it this way because there is a little bit of overhang at the bottom. And I'll go back once it dries and I'll trim that off. But I flip it upside down. Okay, so I don't know that they're going to be able to see this. But if you guys look, can they see the bubbles?
Kind of.
So the bubbles that you see under here, it's a dryer or washing machine.
Let me see.
So the bubble that's right there, this is the clear water slide. And right there, you can see a color difference between where the bubbles are and where they're not at. So you see a definite color difference there. And the reason you can see that is because this is a clear water slide. And that's what I mean about the color difference. Now, even if you epoxy over this, that gap of air is still going to show that color difference. And that is purely because the white backing, the white on this cup isn't right behind the water slide. There's a gap of air there. And that gap creates that color difference, that color change. So my point is even if you are super good at full water slide wraps, you're amazing at them, and you get out as many bubbles as you can possibly see with the naked eye, it's still not going to be good enough. And I say this because I have done tons and tons and tons of water slide wraps. And I have thrown away several water slide wrapped cups because of those damn bubbles. You can always see the air bubbles in them, and you don't see them until after you epoxy it.
Kylie said, I bet you could do those with your eyes closed.
Yeah, I probably could, to be honest. Everybody says I make it look easy, but I really feel like it's easy. I would rather water slide wrap a cup than to glitter a cup. Now my only dilemma with ones like these is glitter. Getting glitter in non-glitter cups. That's no bueno. That's difficult for me. That means that when I have my cups turning in here, because I'm doing them 15 at a time, I cannot glitter any cups because glitter travels through the air. I can't open a bottle of glitter. I can't shake things too much because glitter is everywhere and it will start flying through the air like crazy.
Tammy, how do you trim the bottom?
So I just trimmed it on the bottom of the cup. So I take it like this and I pull the water slide back and I just take my scissors along the bottom. And it really, you want to do it at an angle so that it cuts it. Now this isn't going to be perfectly straight, but I'm not really worried about that, and I'll show you guys why in a second. So of course the bottom is stainless because this is a cup that I just got out of the box. So after I epoxy this tumbler, after I epoxy over the water slide, after it's dried, I'm going to let it dry overnight. I'm not going to epoxy it tonight. I will take alcohol ink and I will alcohol ink the bottom after I epoxy it. And I'm going to epoxy the bottoms black, like I epoxied the bottoms on these. This is black alcohol ink on the bottom. These markings right here, if you look at the image has black markings here. However, it's not as black as my black alcohol ink. So I take the bottom of it and I make swoosh marks and little dots and kind of make it look rugged to match with the rest of the tumbler. And I do that on all of them. But I trim it, and it doesn't really have to be straight or anything like that because I'm going to be covering it up with alcohol ink anyways.
Victor said you should do one with your eyes closed on the live.
I wouldn't be able to see that it was straight though. I could do it in my sleep, that's for sure. Because I'm a great talker in my sleep.
Yeah. Ask me how I know.
Avatar?
She also woke me up one night and is pointing off to the side of our bed, and as I wake up and see that she's pointing, I'm like, everything okay? She's like, can you hand me those? I'm like, what am I handing you? Those water slides over there. Like,
I do water slides in my sleep, you guys, in case you didn't know.
Okay. And she's, never mind, I'll do it later. And then she goes back to bed.
Yeah.
This is a little sleep talk.
My daughter does the same thing. It's an us thing. Like,
so using white water slides with the background is better than clear.
Yes, for full wraps, yes. Even if your cup is white, like that one's white, I mean that one's as bright white as you can get it because it actually came that way. You're still going to have those bubbles in between there no matter how hard you try, no matter how many times you wipe to try and get all the bubbles out, you're still going to have freaking bubbles. And I figured that out the hard way. And I was like, oh, I'll just wipe the bubbles out more, or I'll do less water, or I'll let it sit overnight and then I'll come back and I'll try to re-wet it and wipe the bubbles out again. Trust me, it ain't gonna work. Because if it worked, if there was a way, or a way that you would think that it would work, I've probably tried it. Because I hate white water slides.
Tammy said I sealed a white water slide that was printed gray, put it on a cup, and when it dried, it was purple.
Whoa. That's crazy.
Thanks, Herman. He said I was on point with the next blank. Hashtag teamwork.
With the what?
Next blank.
Oh. So yeah, full water slide wraps are kind of my thing. That's what a lot of people know me as, is the water slide queen. You can ask Cameron, when I first started doing water slides, I absolutely hated them. I would scream, I would cuss at them. I would say how much I hated them because they would rip, they would leak,
Good night,
I was
Ryan.
using inkjet printed water slides at that time. So they would leak, they would crack, they would bleed, they would do everything under the sun you could imagine. And like I said, I've even had some that bled under the epoxy. Because that makes sense, right? And it was one of those pain in the ass customers that ask you every single day how it's coming along. It was one of those ones. And I was highly upset, and I had to ship it out the next day. And it bled under the epoxy. Oh, I was so happy. I didn't even know that was a thing until it did it to me. So, that is a thing. Inkjet printed water slides can bleed under epoxy. Laser printed water slides cannot, however. They won't bleed because it's not wet ink. It's actually ink or a powder that's baked into the water slide sheet. So it's not gonna leak or bleed or anything like that. Whereas inkjet, it will in a heartbeat, and it will do it on the worst cups. Do it on those ones that's already like 3 days late and all that fun jazz, and royally screw you over, because that's when it always does it, right? So that is number 4. I got one more. Does anybody have any questions? I feel like I'm rambling on, and I don't know that I've answered any questions really.
Yeah, no one's really had any.
They're probably all bored. They probably all ran away. Couldn't say I blamed you though, so. And for demonstration purposes, I could put this in some water and I can show you what the white looks like when it's not printed on. So white water slides go on darker cups. You do have to cut the image out like I'm doing here. So if it's like some over extravagant design or picture or something like that and you're not going to be able to cut it out, you're going to have to do a print to cut with your silhouette machine and have the machine cut it out. But sometimes that doesn't really work because it sometimes cuts off and it ruins the whole thing. So yeah, I usually cut it out by
Paper
hand.
for the laser water slide and the inkjet water slide are different, Kylie.
Yes, they are. If you try to print on the laser printed water slide in your inkjet printer, it will actually bleed. It'll like run off of it. And then if you use the laser printer water slides in the inkjet printer, it'll bead up on it and it'll run off, and it's kind of gross.
Hi, Annette.
So they are very different. And I actually have some for both, because I have an inkjet and a laser printer.
But Heather, what do we do to keep our laser water slides from chipping on the edge where I cut it?
What?
So Victor asked.
Chipping on the edge? What does that mean? What'd you do to it? Victor?
You have to seal them both the same. You seal them differently.
Yes.
The lasers and
The inkjets. You
Inkjets,
have
you
to
seal
seal the inkjets a ton more. You have to
Heavier,
do
yeah.
a ton more layers of sealer, and you have to seal an inkjet. You don't have to seal a laser printed water slide. I just do it because it's easier to apply. Alright, so here is the non-printed on white water slide. It's white. And printers can't print white. So if you have an image that requires white, like your letters are white on a full water slide wrap, you can't use a clear water slide unless you're doing a white cup. Because none of the printers print white. Alright, so this is our last one. I just did 5 right before your eyes. Roll this around. The more water you have on your cup, the easier it's going to slide around on it. It's not wet enough. Put it back in my pan. Get it wet again. You want to make sure that you pull out all your creases that you have. Make sure it's wrapping even, meaning it's not going up at an angle. Nope, that is perfectly straight.
He said I was getting to the, if you don't seal it, the toner can flake off. Not very good.
Oh, yes.
You don't want to see the white edges on something dark.
Yes, so laser printed water slides. The reason that I do seal all the ones that I sell as well as the ones that I use with a layer of matte clear on them is because the ink can flake off. It's like a powder that's just baked on there, so if you rub it too much or anything like that, the ink will actually flake off, unless you seal it with a matte clear, which is a lot less of a headache than having to seal it completely, like an inkjet printed water slide, which I was doing like 3 or 4 layers on mine and waiting in between each layer.
Where do you get your foil later?
I get these from Spangled Dreams. I'm in a group called Spangled Dreams, and that's where I get those at.
Yeah, the owner's name is Jen McVeigh. She's
Yeah.
super nice.
She just did some Harry Potter foil glitters the other day. That
How many coats on a layer, on a laser?
I do 1, unless it's a full wrap. So if it's like my 3.5 inch water slides, I do 1 layer of matte clear. If it's my full wraps, then I do 2 layers of Plasti Dip and 1 layer of matte clear. For my white water slides, because they are a little bit thinner. Now for my clear water slides, if I was doing a full water slide wrap, I would do only 1 layer of Plasti Dip, 1 layer of matte clear. Yeah, so this one's done. Sometimes they go on straight and you don't have to mess with them a whole lot. This one went on perfectly straight. Has my silver rim at the top to show that it's completely even all the way around the cup. And then I'll come back tomorrow, I will epoxy, and then I will paint the bottoms black. So it usually takes me about 3 days to do these. I do the water slide, let it sit at least for 2 or 3 hours, especially for a full wrap. If you do a smaller water slide, I would let it sit for maybe an hour at most. Just make sure you get out all of your bubbles and all of your water, and then you can epoxy. If you do not wait until your water slide is completely dry, your water slide will actually crinkle and wrinkle up under your epoxy. Because the heating up process, if it wasn't fully dried out, then it'll start making a chemical reaction and your water slide will start to wrinkle under your epoxy if you don't let it sit and dry long enough. Once they dry, they become less like a thin plastic substance and more like a hard crunchy one. So it shrinks down once it dries. So I think that's part of the reason why it starts doing that under the epoxy, is because of it's not completely dry yet. So it starts wrinkling up under the epoxy and shrinking. So that's something too. So if you notice that, it's because you didn't let it sit long enough and dry before you actually epoxied it.
Kylie, it's one layer of matte clear and the other layer of Plasti Dip.
Yeah, Plasti Dip. You want to make sure that the Plasti Dip is topped with the matte clear. Plasti Dip gives you horrible fish eyes. It repels epoxy. And also, something that I do for all my full Waterslide wraps is I've started doing this, and I use a product called Quick Coat from Counterculture, and I will go over it. It's actually in one of my bottles somewhere. I have like a little ketchup bottle type thing, and like this. And it's just like a coating that I put on it, and this creates a tighter bond with the epoxy on it. So you don't get fish eyes, you don't get anything like that. This, you put it on and then you let it dry for about 30 minutes, and then you put the epoxy on it, and you get like a super smooth, fish eyeless, amazing coat of epoxy. That's how all of these I was able to do with, like, without even having to, I mean, I could have probably done like 2 layers of epoxy, but I did 3 to make sure that they were super smooth and that everything was covered up nicely.
Hi, Stephanie.
And they turned out awesome. I really like these. But the Quick Coat is the new product that I've started doing, and I put it on in between every single layer of epoxy that I do. It doesn't take much. It takes a couple drops, so you just have to be able to spread it around.
Hi, David.
And it just creates a nice surface for the epoxy to adhere to. So even if I did do Plasti Dip as my top layer, I could probably get away without getting any fish eyes if I were to put Quick Coat on the cup and on the Waterslide before I actually epoxied it. And I think I've done one like that before, and I didn't get any fish eyes. And it turned out awesome. But I've started doing that with all my cups. Quick Coat, I wish they sold it by the gallon, because it's pretty awesome. So if you haven't tried it, I definitely recommend trying it. So yeah.
Quick Coat is sold by Counterculture.
Counterculture.
CCDIY.
Yes, CCDIY. That's where I get my epoxy too. I use the regular artist resin. That's what I have on those cups. When it was colder, I was using the medium viscosity. You do get less bubbles with medium viscosity because it's a thinner consistency. But the artist resin leaves a really nice shine, and it's really good for thick layers of epoxy. The medium viscosity is really good for thinner layers of epoxy. And then they also have a thin viscosity as well that's really good for molds and thin layers of epoxy, like on my dragons and my 3D cups. But yeah, we've wrapped 5 20-ounce tumblers together, and we kind of did this one, which I'm going to take this off. But yeah, you can totally see all the air bubbles in there. Yeah. And we don't like that because it ruins the whole cup. And I figured that out when I was doing all of the Clorox cups. Full wraps on the 22-ounce fatties. Those were fun. So yeah, that is our Waterslide live for today. I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your Friday and have a great weekend, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.